Okay, so if you see that right there, guys, that is the beginning of a queen cell. Now, hey guys, it's Mike here. Welcome back to the homestead. And today we got a really cool video. We're getting into the beehive right behind me for the first time of the season. It's early March and it's really the first nice day of the year. We're about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is unusual for mid or early March in New Jersey, but we're gonna take this weather if it's coming, and we're gonna take advantage of getting inside of our beehive and examining it for the first time. Now, we haven't been inside of this beehive since October of last year. I fed them periodically throughout the winter, but that was just about it. So it's gonna be exciting to get inside. We wanna try to identify our new queen, because don't forget, last year our original queen swarmed and left, and she didn't come back, but she laid a queen cell. That queen cell hatched. She did a successful mating flight. She came back and she laid plenty of brood throughout last year, and she overwintered, which is a good sign. Now, the hive is very active today. It's really the first nice day of the year. They're bringing back a ton of yellow pollen, which I don't know where they're getting it from, because there's no flowers that I've seen, but they're finding it somewhere, which is great. I'm happy to see that. And you know, that tells me that they're getting ready for this new season. So we got to get ahead of that. We got to get in there. We have to look and see what's going on. So let's jump right in there. Lots of capped brood, which is great to see. The queen is doing her job. Now, before we jump right in, I want to show you guys what I'm working with today. So we have our regular bee equipment. I didn't put any of that on yet, but I am working with this stuff, and this is called ApiGuard. Now, this is a mite treatment. This is to protect from the Varroa mites, which are very aggressive mites that pretty much all bees in North America are facing and fighting. Healthy hives can fight them on their own to an extent. From what I read, is you want to do some kind of a treatment that before the honey flow, before everything starts blooming and going crazy, we want to get this treatment in there to try to control that mite population. Now, I've never used this stuff. It's controversial, right? Some of you guys, if you guys are experienced beekeepers, you might say this stuff is poison, it taints your honey. You might say whatever the arguments are online, that's what you might say. Other beekeepers say you need to use this stuff. If you don't, your hive is gonna die and you won't get anything. So we think, based on what we've read online and going down many Reddit rabbit holes, we found that this stuff isn't very safe to use during the honey flow, but you can get away with it in the early spring or the late fall before your bees go dormant for the year. So we're in the very early spring. We're going to use this stuff. We're going to go for it. And I'm actually going to get my honey tested come, you know, August, September, when we're ready to harvest out our colony here and get as much honey as we can. So more on that, but you will see me use this today. I just wanted to touch on that before we jump into the hive. So let's get in there. All right, so we're standing behind the hive now. As one of you guys actually mentioned, I really appreciate you telling me that. Stand behind the hive, not the front of the entrance, which is over here. I got my smoke. That's going nice and well. We're not gonna overdo the smoke, but let's get in there and let's see what's going on. So, we've got some on the lid here. If you guys notice, I have some pollen patties inside of here that the honeybees have been working on throughout the winter, which is really cool. Happy to see it. I don't want to move these too much, because what happens is the bees, they run underneath and then they ultimately get smushed, and we don't want them to get smushed. So let's just leave this as it is. We'll go ahead and pop the whole top right off. And I don't know if you guys can see, but there are some casualties from when I checked on this the other day. All right. So everyone looks like they're kind of conglomerated in the middle there. Now these here are the hive beetle traps. And what these are supposed to do is the bees I fill these little reservoirs with oil, and the bees chase the hive beetles, which maybe we can find one, I'll show you, but they chase the hive beetles into these things, and there's a hive beetle right there. So I don't know if you guys saw that. They move pretty quickly. Here's one right there, if you guys can see that. That's a hive beetle running around the top, but they these things are supposed to catch them, and as you can see in the bottom there, all those little black dots, those are hive beetles. So they do get caught in the oil, and then they eventually drown and die, but the bees can't get into these little holes, so they chase these hive beetles down in there, and the hive beetles die. So it's never going to exterminate a hive beetle problem, but what it will do is kind of like maintain that population, because every hive beetle that dies is one less hive beetle that can't reproduce, which is, I guess, a good thing. So and also this is great to tell you what your hive beetle population's looking like. So here's the next reservoir there, and you can see there's hive beetles down in there, but no honeybees, which is great. So we'll just set these to the side. We're gonna keep using these because they have proven to work. And now let's get into this box. Let's see what we're working on. Now, it's been a while, so I imagine they built everything up with a lot of propolis. Take this back frame out first. Not much has happened. They kind of built up these walls a little bit, but I didn't expect to see much. Same deal here. Looks like they capped off a little bit of honey, which is good. This is one of these outer frames, so we'll slide that back in there. Oh, this one's a lot heavier. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of honey on this one, which is good. I'm glad to see that they still have a lot of honey stores this late into the winter, now into the early spring. And what I can see from here is that they're stuffing a ton of pollen down in these bottom rows here. Now my camera's not going to pick it up. I don't have the best quality camera, so make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so I can afford a new camera. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of pollen and honey on this one, on both sides too. So I'm happy to see that. They've got lots of stores, and we're in the upper box. I'm going to check the lower box as well. I don't think my queen is going to be up here. Once I start seeing signs of brood, I'll start looking for the queen. But I do want to go through each frame, take my time here. Oh, this one's not as heavy, but there's a ton of bees on it. Lots of capped brood on this cell, on this frame here. Lots of capped brood, which is great to see. The queen is doing her job. I don't see her, but I'm also not really looking. Populations look really good, guys. I'm happy to see this coming out of the winter. This is a healthy hive. It's my only hive. So let's make that clear. This is a healthy hive and my only one. So I'm happy. I'm gonna try to catch a swarm this year to increase the population of my, or increase the amount of hives that I have. Man, these are full frames of bees, guys. I'm happy to see this. Great population coming out of the winter. Oh, wow. Look at this. The queen is nearby, guys. So I don't know if you could see down in here, but there's tons of eggs, tons and tons of eggs. She's laying, and she's laying a lot. All of these cells have eggs in them, which I am so happy to see. Lots of pollen and lots of eggs. I don't know where the queen is, but she's got to be close if she's laying this many eggs. So I'm going to be very careful to put this frame back in. I think she might be on this frame. I don't know though. I think I'm actually going to call it right there. I think I'm happy there. I'm gonna very gently put this back. Seeing those eggs tells me that queen is very close and she's doing her job. I see lots of pollen lots of eggs. I saw some drone cells, which was good. That means that they're probably gonna, or she's gonna start to lay a queen cells, which means that she'll be getting ready to swarm, which is good for me, because I'm going to be ready for it this year. Last year I was not ready for it. It was my first year. I got this colony in April, and they swarmed in the end of June, which I had no idea what I was doing. I probably looked at the colony maybe 3 or 4 times before they swarmed, so I didn't know what I was looking for. But this year I'm on top of it. So I'm going to pack these together. Again, I didn't see the queen. I got to get better at identifying her. I don't know if I have the eye for it quite just yet. But I don't want to spend too much time. So I'm going to close this box up just the way we found it. So this is that AP guard. I don't see any ingredients on it, but just gonna kind of stick it like that. I think they'll find their way into it, I think. I'll come back and check this next week. We'll see what they've done with it. We'll put the top back on. Oh, you know, before we put the top back on, I brought this out. So this is some more of the pollen patties. That's what this stuff is here. As you can see, they really liked it, so I'm just gonna put a little bit more of this stuff down in here, just so that they can keep eating it. They'll keep feeding on it. I don't know if this is where you're supposed to put it, but this is where I found that it makes the most sense, so it doesn't soften up and drip down into the colony. It stains the cardboard here a little bit, but you know what? I think I'm okay with that. They come up, they eat it. This is gonna give them great protein for the beginning of the season here. They're already foraging, which I'm happy to see. We'll put this back on top, just as I found it. So in addition to the protein patties that we're giving these bees, I'm also giving them a sugar syrup solution, which I have right here. Now, I'll show you guys how I make this. I just filled it up, and I think it'll be valuable for you guys to know what I'm doing, and maybe you can give me some pointers on what I could do better for springtime feeding. All right, so what I like to do for an early spring bee food mix or bee food syrup is 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. Now that's gonna be a thicker syrup. There's obviously gonna be more sugar than water in this solution, but the bees seem to love it and they suck it up really quickly. So first things first, let's clean this jar out a little bit. This is we just took it off the beehive. And then we have our scale, we have our sugar, and I brought the bag out. This is just your basic regular granulated sugar that you get from the grocery store. No, we don't want to use brown sugar or anything like that. We just want the plain Jane white sugar. That's important. And then I have a vessel to measure with, so that we'll use that. I'll show you how we do that. Again, first things first, let's clean this jar. Here we go. We have, I just eyed this out, just filled it up with sugar, and we're gonna watch this number on this scale. We wanna get to about 600 grams, and that's gonna give us our measurement. So we fill this up, it's moving, which is good. And we need a little bit more, which I undercut it a little bit. And we're going to 6. Almost there. We're at 571. You can't see it very well. We're gonna add just a little bit more sugar to get us to that 600. All right, beautiful. And that's gonna do it. We're at like 604. It doesn't have to be exact. So what we're gonna do now is take this off. We know we have our 600 grams of sugar, and that's what it looks like. So you can see it's about 3/4 full of this jar. Your jars might be different. You're gonna have to kind of figure it out on your own on how many grams of sugar fill your jar with 2 to 1 parts of sugar to water. So next, what I'm gonna do is this is pretty warm water. I have it on the hottest setting it could be. Now my hot water boiler is set to 120 degrees that's fine to dissolve this sugar. You might have to heat yours in a microwave or on a stove or something like that. However you heat your water, you might have to heat it up a little bit hotter. But before we do the water, we want to put our empty vessel on this scale. It's a new vessel, so it weighs differently. We're going to hold the tear button down. We're going to tear that out. And now we're back at 0 with this vessel on the scale. So we remove that. We're gonna fill it with this warm water. We're not gonna fill it, but we're gonna just guesstimate. We need 300 grams. So that's 371. We'll actually take a little bit of out to get us to that 300. 275, we'll add just a touch more, and that should get us to that 300. There you go, 312, I'm happy with that. So now this is warm water. We're just gonna very simply pour this water right into this sugar, and it should fill the jar just exactly. And now as you can see, it's starting to dissolve the sugar. The water level is gonna reduce. That's all good and well. I'm gonna encourage that by mixing it a little bit. I'm just gonna grab a butter knife here. This is generally what I use to mix with. Use whatever you have on hand. And we're just gonna encourage that warm water to come in contact with that raw sugar, and it should dissolve it. If it doesn't, it will get it pretty close to being dissolved, and that's what we're looking for. So there we go. As you guys can see, we're touching the bottom of the jar there, and we're just kind of stirring and mixing, and it's gonna dissolve. Just experience doing this so many times, I know that's gonna dissolve, and I'm happy with that. We got something floating to the top there. Not exactly sure what, but we'll go ahead and pull that out. We don't want it. And that's it. That's pretty much the solution. So it looks like a milky color. And now we just take our top. We very simply put our top back on, and we have some syrup, some good sugar water syrup that the bees will love to drink while the weather's warm, but there's no blooms. So let's get back outside. All right, guys, we're back. It's been 2 weeks since the first part of this video, and I just wanted to do a follow-up, a checkup on the hive to see what's been going on. We've had consistently nice weather in these last 2 weeks, which is unseasonable for March here in New Jersey, but I'm not complaining. I'm just hoping that the bloom doesn't come too early and we get a late frost and it kills all the flowers. But that's happened in the past. We don't want that to happen, and we're not going to jinx it. So anyway, let's jump into this beehive. I want to show you guys a quick update. My goal today, looking at this hive, is to one, see the queen, make sure that she's laying, confirming that she's laying, because we saw she's laying last time we were in there earlier in this video, and two, to see that they're bringing in a lot of pollen. Now I could notably see when I go over there and just kind of hang out and watch the bees come and go, I could see that there's a lot of bees coming back with big pollen packs on their hind legs there. They're the little back legs, bright yellow and green pollen, which is a good sign. They're foraging. They're finding pollen from somewhere. Now there's some flowers, some early plants are starting to bloom with some flowers this time of year, which is probably where they're getting most of their pollen from, and they're bringing it back, which is a great thing, because when the larva starts to hatch, they're going to be hungry, and the colony needs to feed that growing population with this early gathered pollen. So that's what we'll be looking for. We're looking for pollen, and we're looking for the signs of the queen. If we can find the queen, that's a big bonus for today. So let's jump in there. All right, so as we open up the hive here, I do want to make a point that we're not going to go into this bottom section down below. We're just going to stay up top because we know that there's not much going on down there. So initially opening our top here, let's check that medicine pack that we made last time. It looks like they've gotten into it a little bit. They've definitely gotten into it a little bit. I'll show you guys that. So this is that Apivar stuff that's supposed to you know, prevent the mites, and it looks like they've definitely gotten in there. I only cracked the side. I didn't really know. There was no instructions with this, but it looks like they ate some of it, which is good. So we'll take that out today. Some crushed bees on the top of this stuff. It's not easy not to get them, but they're eating. I think you guys can see what we're looking at here. They're definitely eating this pollen patty, the protein patty that we made for them, which is great. I'm glad to see it. I noticed they don't eat this like filament. They kind of dump it. They leave it to the side, and they make a mess in the front of the hive, which is, I guess they don't like it. So let's pop the top here. Oh, this one's heavy, guys. Lots of honey. Lots of uncapped honey. And on this side, on the back side, tons of capped honey. And this is new. We didn't see a lot of this last time. So looking here in the bottom right of this frame, you could see that there's a lot of pollen. And that's the pollen that they're going to feed the larvae. Pardon the wind here. That's the pollen that they're going to feed the larvae. And all that white cap, that's all honey. And they're sucking it up right now, which is good. It's really good. I'm glad to see that. They're building out their comb. Trying to minimize the casualties as I come through here. Here's something interesting, guys. So as I scan this one, I'm seeing lots of eggs, and then if you could look there, there's actually the sign of a queen cell. Let me make sure that you guys can see what I see. Okay, so if you see that right there, guys, that is the beginning of a queen cell. Now, it's not capped yet. It's still open. I don't know if a bee moves out of the way. You guys can see the opening there in the queen cell. There you go. There's a good angle of it. And it's not capped. So the queen hasn't laid an egg in there yet, but she'll be getting ready to do that. So we're going to keep an eye on this frame for sure, because we don't want a queen to pop out when we're not ready. We do want to catch the swarm this year and try to make a second hive to make our apiary grow. And I'm noticing lots of eggs in this frame. If I come in close, I don't know if you guys can see them, but it looks like little grains of rice down in the bottom of the cells there. There's lots of pollen, and there's some capped honey. So this is a productive frame. I'm happy to see it. The queen is somewhere here, and she's busy. All right, so I'm really happy with that inspection. We checked out 4 frames. What we saw on those 4 frames was a queen cell, which is what we expected this time of year. They're getting ready to do what's called a swarm, and they want to split the colony's population in half, leaving the new queen to tend to this existing box, taking the old queen and half of the colony and going elsewhere to make a new colony, which is what we want to capture and make a second hive out of, so that we can multiply our hives and our honey production. So we're ready for that. We noticed the queen cell. We noticed drone cells, which are that swollen bulbous cell that make male bees to mate the new queen. And we saw a ton of pollen, a ton of honey, and a ton of new capped brood and uncapped brood. So with all intents and purposes, this colony is off to the races. It's doing excellent this spring. I'm really happy about it. This is my 2nd year of beekeeping, and we made it through the winter and into the spring successfully. So my morale is really high. I'm going to edit this video. I'm going to wrap it all up with both of these events, these inspections, here in early March, very early spring in New Jersey, and I'm going to get it online for you guys to check this out. So hit the thumbs up if you like this video. I appreciate it. It helps my channel grow and spread. And hit subscribe if you want to see more from me, because I do everything between beekeeping, gardening, homesteading, chicken keeping, everything that entails operating a functional property with self-sufficiency in mind. So with all that, guys, thanks again for joining us, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.